And if you don't know me, my name's Don, the Moto Giant. I had a pretty bad motorcycle crash back in May of 2024. The crash, somehow during the crash, something tore off my foot in the crash. It separated the large part of my foot from the rest of my body, and I went tumbling down the road on the interstate going south. And that crash resulted in the damage to this gear that you're going to see in a few moments. I've got some stuff that I want to throw away, but I want to tell the story properly. I told the story about my gear in a video a while back, but I don't think I did a very good job. When I told the story, I was still in a wheelchair. I could not get a good shot of the gear. I was filming inside my bedroom on top of a bed with not good light, and I know I could do better before I throw this stuff away. And I've been trying to come up with a way to tell the story, and hopefully it'll give you something to think about. The thing I keep telling people all the time is wear whatever gear that you feel is appropriate, that makes you comfortable, that, you know, makes you want to ride more. All that's fine and good as long as you know the risk, as long as you understand what the consequences are if you make the wrong choices. As long as you understand all that, I don't have a problem with whatever gear that you want to wear. It might make me cringe when I see people riding around in flip-flops, shorts, and t-shirts like I used to do. I'm not going to make any judgments about you because I used to do the same thing. And I had a lot of fun riding around in flip-flops, t-shirts, and shorts and no helmet. So I'm not going to judge, but I also want everybody out there watching that rides a motorcycle or thinking about riding a motorcycle, and they're looking around and going, well, everybody else is riding naked. And I've done that too. I have ridden across the Bonneville Salt Flats at over 100 miles an hour wearing nothing but shoes on my feet, naked as a jaybird. So I'm not coming at you full of judgment. I'm not coming at you trying to tell you what to wear when you ride your motorcycle. I'm coming at you as somebody that has grown and learned over the years. And I just want to make sure that you have all the right information about what you need to know when you're riding a motorcycle. So there's some good and the bad that I want to point out. And the good, I want you to remember and hopefully learn from maybe some of my mistakes that I made, and hopefully prevent this in the future from anything that happens to you on the road. Let's take a look at the damage from this gear before I throw this stuff away. What you will see here on my riding pants is the damage. The damage that's cut up the center here is from trauma shears at the accident scene. So they cut these things all the way up because all they can see is I'm missing a foot. There's a bloody stump dangling below my ankles. So they just started cutting to make sure that, you know, there's not bones poking out. And I'm okay with that. But what you miss is the result of the crash. Basically, both of these knees look pretty much like this. The knee itself, when I'm wearing these, the knee is down in this location here, and it had some padding, some armor that I've since taken out. But what immediately happened, apparently, when I hit the ground, is my pants came down. They almost came off. I would say they came probably halfway across my butt. So as my knees made contact, the pants came down. So I went sliding down the interstate, not with the thick fabric of the knee and the padding, but I went sliding down in this part. So my knees were right here on both sections. And you can see the result. I'm going to show you one knee, but basically, this is the scar that took forever to heal. Scar on one of my knees. And it took off some skin. Didn't go all the way down to the bone. But that's what both knees look like. I still have this knee. I'm not going to take that off. But as a result of my slide and burning through my riding gear, that's what you have. And quite frankly, I don't think this riding gear, mesh gear, is pretty much what you call this. It's basically nylon. It's not made for sliding down the interstate at high speeds. It's not made for the track. That's why they require leathers when you're riding on the track. If you're doing a track day or racing or anything like that, they require you to have a one-piece leather to prevent this, because you're going at high speeds, and there's a good chance you might be sliding down the track, and they require armor, I believe. And the one piece prevents this from sliding down your butt like it did on mine. But this is pretty good quality gear. It's pretty old mesh gear, which means it's more concentrating on ventilation than anything else. And it's old. You know, it's not the best gear out there, because it's probably 15 years old. Now I want to talk about probably the most dramatic, and this may be a little bit hard to comprehend because of all the damage to this gear, but this is my riding jacket. And same thing, this is 10, 15 years old. It's an old Tour Master. And the first thing you should consider is, when I bought this was black. And now it's more like a blackish gray, which means it's been out in the sun a lot. I probably got 200,000 or 300,000 miles on this jacket. At least 150. I've ridden with this thing a lot. This is my winter jacket. It's got good ventilation. You can open up these vents. Well, now it's got really great ventilation because it's all opened up. And you can see, again, they cut here with their trauma shears. So don't go by this and think that this is all damage from the crash. They cut the sleeves off. So the sleeve right here is cut off. But you can see there's a lot of fraying damage on the elbows. You can see fraying damage on the shoulder, and there's still a shoulder pad in there. There's still some armor in there. So that thing took most of the damage, I would say, to my body. So what I wound up with on my body, I had a couple of broken ribs, a couple of fractured vertebrae, but I think it was this arm. This arm got a little road rash on it, and I think it was from, yeah. So both of the sleeves have been cut off the jacket, so it's kind of hard to tell what's left. But what you can see is this jacket really did its job very well. And you can see I'm tumbling. If you can imagine me tumbling and sliding, that's exactly what happened. So I'm very happy with what the jacket did for me. It's an old jacket, had armor in it. Still has a lot of armor in it still. It did its job. And this is not expensive gear. This is it's probably $150, $180 jacket 15 years ago, which means it's probably 200 and something now. But I'm very happy with how this jacket protected me. Even though it shredded, it took most of the punishment going down the road. Like I said, I think I had a scuff here. No, I think it was on this arm. I still have a kind of little scar there. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, so that's the skin that I lost in that crash. And obviously that sleeve's gone, so we can't really tell how bad it was. But I imagine that I'm sliding, my body's on top of that arm, sliding down the road, taking all that material with it. And this is what you get. Let's take a look at the back here. Yeah, so no wonder I had a couple of broken ribs. That looks like a pretty good whack there to me. And of course, I've got padding in the back. So, you know, bruised up. Sure, I was bruised as hell. I was sore as hell. I was missing a foot. That was the biggest thing. But yeah, it's kind of hard to talk about the pain that I experienced because everything else. I had scratches on my face. We'll talk about that here in a second. But overall, I'm really impressed with what this old Tour Master did for me. It saved my butt. If only I could have had that much protection on my feet. And now this is a little bit embarrassing because I know better. I know better than to ride my modular helmet. My Shoei is a really good quality helmet. It's always been there when I went down in the dirt. I crash a lot in the dirt. And of course, this thing's been sitting out in the weather, so it's been beat up. But I just wore this the summer before on the Transamerica Trail. That's why it looks like hell. And it's probably got 300,000 miles on it. I bought this back in 2015. Paid $600 for it, which was that's a lot of money back then. I think these things are probably $700-800 now. It's a modular helmet, which means when I bought it, you could lift this chin bar up and down. The sad part is I typically ride with this chin bar up because I like air in my face. I like being able to see. You can see better with the chin bar up, more air, more in the moment, in the environment. But you can see I crashed with the chin bar up, which means this thing is broken now. It's completely separated. But also what you can see is this took most of the punishment. Believe it or not, I actually tried this out before the wreck. And I think I've even demonstrated this to a few people. It's like, why do you ride with your chin bar up, Don? Well, I've looked at it. I've gone up against a wall and pushed my head up against a wall and gone, well, this thing does a pretty good job of protecting my face. Probably not when it hit like that. So most likely I went down at an angle like this and an angle like that, which is why you're seeing all this scuffs. You got scuffs here. You got scuffs on the other side. And this thing is broken. So my guess is I went down hard on this side. This thing is broken now. It won't even close. But here's another telling thing. I mean, what caused this gash back here? That's pretty deep. That could have been the death of me had I not been wearing a helmet. So with all that said, I still want to say the helmet did its job. Would it have done a better job had the chin bar been down? Absolutely. No doubt about it. I might not have any scratches on my face. I still have a scar right above my left eyebrow. I still have a scar right here. Not even sure what that's from, but I don't know how that could have torn my skin like that. Maybe it was the helmet torquing. I don't know. Maybe it was the helmet doing this. I don't know. All I know is the helmet did most of its job, and that's the thing that you need to remember. I would probably be dead without that helmet because I went down pretty damn hard. 80 miles an hour. The best I can tell, I high-sided. Something grabbed a hold of my foot and ripped it off. So with that much power to rip off a man's foot, you tell me. So let's talk about the most shameful part of my riding gear that day. My riding boots. Which one looks like it has the most damage? Well, clearly it's this one. This one was the one that stayed on my foot. And I would say, for the most part, this thing did its job too. I'm pretty sure the medics cut the threads off of my boot because from what I remember in the video before they load me in the ambulance, I see something hitting the ground that looks like shoelaces. So I think they cut this off before they loaded me in the ambulance. This one came off in the crash. So you could see the difference in the toes. This one has been smooshed down. I used to think this had a steel toe in it. It had some kind of a shank or something in here to protect. It didn't do a good job protecting either set of my toes because this part of my foot from about here forward was ripped off. And as you can also see, that's probably what degloved my foot because this thing pretty much exploded. You could see that my foot was yanked out of here. So as it was coming out of the boot, my ankle got ripped off or my heel got ripped off. So basically everything above my ankle skin-wise was, they call it degloving. So all the skin, the tissue outside of my foot got ripped off above the ankle. And from what I can figure, most of the meat and the glove of my foot stayed in my sock and I went tumbling down the road. But this is the most shameful, but I still think that some good sturdy work boots like these are protected my foot to some extent. Much better than tennis shoes or flip-flops, or this is leather. This is all skidding down the road and you can see these drops of blood because my foot's dangling from and bleeding all over this. This one stayed on my foot till they threw me in the ambulance. This one came off of my foot. You can see how badly smashed that is. I don't know that any motorcycle boot could have saved my foot. I don't know. You should look at this damage. All this stuff is from the crash. All this skidding is from the crash. This is much worse because this one stayed on my foot. This one is just mashed down and skidded just a little bit. So I'm guessing my foot did something like that. I don't know. I have no idea. It's not on video. That's the part of my crash that I don't know what happened. I would say people underestimate how important their feet are until they get their ankles or their toes mangled. And then it becomes very important. It's very hard to put your toes and your feet back together just because there's so many bones in there. It's just hard to get them in the right place. And you got all those tendons and ligaments holding them all together. A toe injury, a foot injury can be catastrophic and you have no idea. And I've heard people taking elective surgery years after a toe, foot injury, just because their foot never heals up right and they want to walk again, and they do an elective surgery like I did because they couldn't put my foot back together. And other people get pissed off at some point and go, okay, just take the damn thing off. I'll walk around with a leg like Dawn's. I'll get me a prosthetic. And that's what they do. They cut your leg off. They cut the lower part of your leg off and put you a prosthetic on so you can walk again. And I'm walking pretty good. And of course, the last thing I want to talk about is the glove. I've had a lot of people give me a lot of grief about two things, the boots and my gloves. And I'm real happy with the performance of this glove. It exploded, of course. Could it have done better? Absolutely. But did it protect most of my hand? Yes. That's the same hand. I got a scar there and a scar there. And I'm not sure exactly what it hit. But I had a similar injury with the same glove riding across the tat. I went down very, very slowly, but this thing may have saved my fingers. I don't know. But I am grateful that I had something on my hands. You can see there's trauma in there. You can see that this thing wore a hole into my glove, probably about the same place where that scar is. So if you think that, okay, Don, you should have been wearing better gloves. Yes, but I was wearing leather gloves, and that's what you should keep in mind. So what's the takeaway? What do I want you to take away from my message here? Looking at my equipment and looking that, I probably got, I don't know, $1,200 into the equipment that I was using, and I probably should have had maybe $1,500. Better riding boots, better gloves. But look at what that little bit of money helped the rest of my body. And, what is your skin worth? And this is the time when we get into all those cliches that I hate. I've always hated the people preaching about gear. And I don't want to preach. And I don't want to say cliches like dress for the slide, not the ride. And how much is your skin worth? And all those things that you probably heard before. If you're one of those sinners,
have sinned against you, my Lord.
Riding around in cool looking t-shirt and jeans and cool looking matching boots that match your motorcycle. If you're one of those guys, my message to you is just think about your recovery when you crash. Because I have crashed many times because I was riding good gear and got up and did this. And that's the thing that I haven't really talked about up to this point. I was wearing very similar gear to this. The same helmet, same gloves. I was wearing good boots that I had. Good motocross type boots. Different jacket, different pants, but very similar gear. And I went down about 25, 30 miles an hour in gravel, which could be catastrophic. And I sat there in the gravel as I went down. I went down pretty hard, scuffed up my helmet pretty bad, scuffed up my glove, and that was about it. I got up and I dusted myself off. I went down so hard that the tank bag that was strapped to the top of the tank ripped off, and it was a good Moscow bag. It was a relatively new Moscow tank bag, and it ripped off. The threads came out of the thing. Motorcycle came out because it's made of cast iron. I got myself up, dusted myself off, picked the bike up, got back on the bike, and rode the rest of the Transamerica Trail because I was wearing good gear. And I was wearing good boots because I knew the dangers. I knew that I was going to be doing some rugged stuff, might be sticking my feet down in places where I could get my feet smashed, rugged riding. And it wasn't all rugged riding. It was just a lot of dirt roads mostly, but there was some rugged riding that, doing a dab at the wrong place, dropping the bike on my foot would have not only injured my foot and maybe ended my journey, but, could have caused me some long-term rehab like I've been going through this summer. And that's the message that I really want to share. Again, if you understand the risk and the consequences, wear whatever gear you want. But a lot of times we're all ignorant. We don't know what the consequences really are. We don't know what the risks really are. And I'm sharing with you the risk and the consequences for me for wearing probably the wrong gear. And like I said, I don't know that, $1,000 boots would have saved my foot. I don't know. Maybe it would have crushed my foot still, and the foot would have stayed on. And 5 years, 10 years from now, I decided to go ahead and get my foot cut off anyway because I couldn't walk. It's happened. What would my face look like had I not been wearing a modular helmet? What would my face look like had I been wearing a skid lid? Would I have even survived it? I don't know. Those little skid lids are, paper thin because the emphasis is on looking cool, not protecting your skull. This is not only helps us walk around and live as a human being, but it also protects our breathing, circulation, all that stuff. It's pretty critical stuff if you think about it. Again, I don't want to get too preachy. I just wanted to share this stuff before I threw it away. It's just in my way, and I don't have that much space. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this crap away. And hopefully this will make you guys think twice the next time you get on your motorcycle and think, what if I came off? What if I came off at 25 miles an hour and this is what I'm wearing? This is what I'm wearing, and, maybe a helmet. How much is your skin worth? Let me tell you, these little wounds to my knees have taken forever to heal, and they're still not healed. It's this weird cellophane covering that I've got there. It's not really skin. I'm guessing at some point skin will be back, but right now it's just this weird wrinkly cellophane covering. It's getting thicker, but it's been painful. The healing has been very painful of these scars. This one healed up pretty quickly. No big deal. This took a long time to heal. This right here, the stuff down on my face, obviously it was just very, very thin, but this was pretty deep, and I'm not sure exactly how I got this. It may have been something in the helmet that, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just glad to be alive, and I think a majority of that is due to my gear, especially my helmet, protected my head. Damage could have been much worse had I not been wearing this relatively affordable, I think, nylon gear that anybody can buy. If a giant can buy this gear, odds are you can buy some decent gear too. $1,000, man. $1,000 might save your life, and um, would certainly save your skin, and that's pretty obvious, don't you think? Here's a question for you. What was the old Bell helmet commercial? If you're as old as I am, you'll remember in the magazines they had Bell was brilliant, brilliant. I mean, they were the motorcycle helmet back in the day, back in the, I don't know, 70s and 80s. But it seemed like the ads came out in the late 70s, early to mid 80s, and the ad was $10 helmet for a $10 head, or what is your head worth? What is your brain worth? I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was like a $10 helmet for a $10 head. And what I remember, bells were the shit, but bells are like $25. They were outrageously priced at $25. And it seems like that's what I remember. $25 helmet. And they look cool, but otherwise you couldn't really tell them any difference. I mean, they were 3/4 helmets. The ones that I was looking at were 3/4 helmet. Look, so basically if you take this and chop it off, you take this completely off. So 3/4, it protected, you know, when you put the helmet on, it protected the sides of your head and the tops of your head that came down to about right there. So 3/4 helmet. And you could you could snap a little plexiglass windscreen on there, or you could put goggles on if you're riding off road. But otherwise, they look the same as all the other helmets, but they were $25, and the other helmets were $8, $9, $10. And that's the ad that I remember is $10 helmet for a $10 head. How much is your helmet? How much is your head worth? And I think that's the message that I have for you is what's your skin worth? And how old are you? How long is it going to take you to grow skin back? Well, let me tell you, brothers, it took me at least 3 months to grow my skin back to get it to the point where it is now. And it's going to be scarred forever. Those scars are going to be there. I don't care about scars. Chicks stick scars from what I remember. Hey chicks, you like that? You like that right there? How about that? You like that? Is that getting you hot?
Have sinned against you, my Lord. And I would ask that your precious blood would wash and cleanse